On the night when the wind slips like a hiss through barbed wire fences, and the dogs fall silent as if they were listening to something older than fear, the stories begin to breathe. In the pale moonlight, over fields whose grass has been scorched by sun, and over rough highlands with stones warmed through the day, it is said that a shadow falls without a footstep and without weight. A shadow with eyes that seem to absorb the light, with a spine furrowed by spines, with a scent of heated dust and crushed leaf. People keep their animals shut tight in pens. They look up at the sky, and their hearts utter the same name, Chupacabra. This is how the legend begins, the one that has bound villages and cities, islands and continental hills, a story that sounds like an old drum across the whole Latin American space. The origins of this creature, as they circulate in collective memory, are tied to an island with steep mountains and a harsh coast where, in the years at the end of the 20th century, farmers found goats, sheep, and birds with their blood drawn and with fine marks, like 2 or 3 punctures, in their skin. Yet even before the name took root, the Hispanic and Lusitanian lands already kept stories about unexpected predators, about spirits of the plain, and about beings appearing at the threshold between forest and village. In the Caribbean, in Mexico, in the countries at the foothills of the Andes, in the sunburnt plains of the continent's north, the myth took shape from a mixture of rural fear, sensational news, religious interference, hunting nostalgia, and the anxiety of a modernity that was hurriedly changing everyday life. Popular culture sculpted the Chupacabra according to its symbolic needs. For some, it is the sign of a vengeful nature, a spirit that punishes greed and the lack of care for the land. For others, it is a stranger come from the dark, an echo of tales about unidentified flying objects and visitors from afar. There are also voices that set it beside the Christian bestiary, on the same line with the demons of famine and of wandering, or that bring it close to old indigenous beliefs, where totem animals were messengers between worlds. Here, at the crossroads of myths and confessions, the Chupacabra becomes more than a nocturnal creature. It becomes a mirror of the communities that tell it. Its descriptions are multiple, as if fear were shaping matter. The best-known image speaks of a short, supple body covered with gray or greenish earth skin, with spines along the ridge that rise at the slightest sound. The eyes are large, glossy, reddish, as if they reflected back the fire of torches and headlights. The teeth seem sharp, like those of a small predator, yet the bite is not one of rending. Rather, the story tells of a cold, precise suction, leaving behind bodies without blood. In other places, the creature is seen more as a skeletal dog, with skin eaten by disease, running on dusty roads with an endurance that defies the long journey. In all versions, it remains nocturnal, silent, capable of leaping abruptly over fences, of vanishing among reeds or between the metal boxes of a farm. The legends granted powers that blend the animal with the uncanny. It is said to sense blood from a distance, to see in dense darkness, to slow its breathing to stillness when it is cornered. Others speak of the intelligence of a careful hunter that probes its surroundings, tests gates, follows the paths of people and dogs, avoids the light, and waits for the right moment. In urban ballads, the Chupacabra becomes almost invulnerable to ordinary traps, as if its very substance slipped between the meshes. Its weaknesses are less clear. Some believe it disappears at loud noise and sharp light, others that it flees from running water or from well-populated areas, but nothing remains certain in a realm ruled by story. Its relationship with people is woven from fear, but also from cohesion. In villages struck by losses, neighbors gather at night with lanterns, with sticks, with prayers, and with old songs to banish spirits. Children listen from the porch and learn, without knowing it, the geography of dread and the cartography of solidarity. Folk artists paint the creature on walls in strong colors, and musicians turn its name into a refrain that gathers bursts of laughter and inserts of shiver. In the cities, the legend arrives in magazines, in films, in games, in carnival costumes, becoming a symbol of Latin American identity, a sign that this place loves narrated horror, dark humor, and resilience. The history of the myth knows two important reversals. First, the moment when rural rumors become news, when television cameras begin to seek traces in the soil and voices in tears. Then, the moment when, along with the development of communications, images leap from one country to another, and the Chupacabra extends its territory without moving its claws. In this passage, the creature becomes a metaphor of the age, a pretext for conversation, a warning about the fragility of communities under the pressure of change, a reminder that stories travel faster than facts, yet can still touch a truth of the heart. The theories about its existence are as diverse as the fields where the night settles. Folklorists see in the Chupacabra a modern construction of fear, fed by fragmentary reports, by blurry photographs, and by the desire of communities to give a face to the unknown. Cryptozoologists raise maps and list possible remnants of unknown predators, evoke forgotten evolutionary lines, and suggest that the dry savannas of the south or the rocky valleys of the islands could hide small, rare carnivores with unusual adaptations. There are also hypotheses that mix science with the spectacular: laboratory animals that escaped, mutations due to pollution, creatures brought from afar on secret routes. In the spiritual zone, animist beliefs define it as a guardian spirit with multiple masks, and contemporary imagination brings it close to visitors from outside our world. Modern investigations, led by veterinarians, biologists, and teams of volunteers, have often found natural explanations for the carcasses presented to the public. Genetic analyses of supposed specimens have proved, in many cases, to indicate dogs or coyotes suffering from mange, with fallen fur and thickened skin, which give the impression of an extraterrestrial creature. The tracks in the earth have often matched the paws of canids, and the mode of feeding, although strange at first glance, has been put by specialists down to predation, under stress, or to the consumption of blood in the last moments of a hunt. And yet, with every case clarified, there remain other happenings hard to place: night testimonies, the screams of animals, and the feeling that beyond what we know there remains an undefined edge of the world. The night expeditions continue, with thermal cameras, with directional microphones, with photographic traps, and with maps of the migrations of domestic animals. Passionate people patrol the hills and the valleys. They note temperatures, wind directions, the rhythm of steps, distances between pens. They catch on film foxes, owls, raccoons, wild felids, and crows. They also catch something else: their hearts beating in a rhythm shared with that of their ancestors who listened to the night. From these searches is born an unofficial yet rich knowledge that a community investigating its fears becomes, paradoxically, stronger. Even when the answer is prosaic, the road toward it remains an adventure worthy of being told. On a symbolic plane, the Chupacabra remains a poetic explanation for loss. It itself, named through its relation to the goat, keeps in its name an economic and emotional wound, an animal taken not in its entirety, but emptied of life. In the villages where the goat is food, milk, money, and tradition, a single night can bring imbalance. Here, the legend is not only a spectacle, but a kind of accounting ledger of pain. In the cheerful songs about the Chupacabra, one can feel an old weeping as well. And in the laughter of the next day, there lies a small victory over fear. If we can joke about it, we can also master it. At the same time, the Chupacabra is also a testimony to the way stories renew themselves. Before, fears were local and stayed at the courtyard fire. Today, a rumor can become, in a few hours, a global story. Yet, even so, the magic does not disappear. On the contrary, it is amplified by the variety of voices. A shaky photograph from a coastal village, a child's drawing from a mountain school, a city mural in bold colors, a film production that interweaves humor with the chill. All these forms give the myth a long life. And the public, viewer and co-author, rediscovers the joy of being afraid together. At the end of this journey, when the music turns grave and the images flow slowly over fields wet with dew, the question that refuses to close the door remains. Who truly is the Chupacabra? A misunderstood predator, a confusion of the night, a mask for other animals, a revenant of the technological century, or a symbol of our anxieties that changes its skin along with the times? Perhaps the answer lies in the very persistence of the story. A myth that endures, that changes and yet remains recognizable, always says something essential about the people who speak it, about the way we protect what we love, about how we give a face to the unknown, about how in the dark we learn to step together with a lantern, with a prayer, with a joke, with a determination to understand. And if one evening you stop next to a barbed wire fence in a village with a dusty road and quick mongooses, listen a little. Perhaps you will hear only the whisper of the cane, the sleepy murmurs of birds, and a dog shifting its place in the kennel. Or perhaps you will feel the earth lightly vibrate like a legendary heart. Then remember, the true power of the Chupacabra does not lie only in its imaginary fangs or its eyes, but in our power to tell stories. In this way, the creature lives not to frighten us, but to gather us under the same sky, at the same old question: what truly hides in the night? And until we know, we will continue to search with respect for nature, with attention to facts, and with our hearts open to the miraculous.